My name is Brian Fanzo, Millennial Keynote speaker. Actually, I call myself, yes, a pager wearing millennial. What really that means is I was born in 1981. I'm on the older side of the millennial spectrum. But I work with millennial Gen Zs and really try to help brands tell their story, connect with the millennial Gen Z consumer because let's face it, millennials are already making up 50% of today's workforce and will soon be making up 50% of the spend with companies in the future. So I want to talk to you about 5 ways that you can actually work with millennials and hopefully as leaders can start helping educate as well as kind of empower millennials. And those 5 ways are what might sound fairly simple, but it's coming from this mindset that it's digital natives. And if you think of those that are under 36 years old today, they most of them were born with the internet. Yes, I say I'm a pager wearing millennial because I didn't have a phone in high school. I wasn't on Facebook in college, but I'm on the one extreme. There's the other extreme that thinks of digital as the greatest piece and fully integrated in their environment. So the first of the 5 steps is you have to talk with millennials and Gen Z. When you're trying to empower them, educate them, and get them to listen, too often in this world that we live in, people broadcast messages and they talk at people. And in this generation, especially the digital native generation, they want people to talk with them. So using words like we instead of you are a great way to kind of allow that to kind of come together. And that kind of actually plays into the second step. The second piece there is making the audience feel a part of the solution, part of the program, part of the education lesson. And what I mean by that is I like to call it participatory content. And how do you allow them to participate in what you have going on, kind of be a part of the journey? So very interactive lessons, making things being Q&A. A 1-hour lecture doesn't nearly as compelling with the audience as something that is a Q&A session, or maybe you're able to do some acting out on stage or acting out in front of the class. So definitely making them feel a part of it. And then also beyond that, this would be step 3, is helping them participate in what you're going to talk about, where you're going to talk about it, and why you're talking about that. A good example of that is one of the things that I've really started doing when I'm working with especially Gen Zs is I give them 5 choices or 7 choices of things we're going to talk about on that day, and I allow them to pick 1 or 2. And by doing that, all of those topics eventually will get selected, but allowing them to feel like they get to decide what they're learning about that day really does kind of align and make them want to not only participate, but it kind of plays into that step number 1, allowing them to feel like you're talking with them, not at them. Number 4 is empowering failure. And I'm not a huge proponent of failing always or failing fast, but you have to have the ability to fail, right? And one of the things that I always work with brands on is they will say, well, Brian, failure is okay in our business. And I will ask them, well, where do you say that, or how do you make that known? And one of those ways of doing so is when someone fails, rather than isolating them, leverage and talk about what allowed them to fail and what the failure ended up becoming, right? And I think teaching failure as not only a lesson, but as a step towards success requires us to look at failure, not just for the failure itself, but the fact that they took the risk, they failed, and that made forward. And then the last one, step 5, and this is maybe one of the most important ones, is celebrating the small wins along the way, right? I think today, when we have so much being broadcast at us and there's so much expectations and we're probably the hardest on ourselves, we oftentimes celebrate big wins. We celebrate the end of a course or someone's getting an A on the test. But I think we also have to celebrate the small wins, the quiz or someone that failed. Celebrating those wins along the way make the journey at the end worth it. And I think too often we understand the celebrating at the end, but if we want people to be inspired and empowered to get to the end, we have to celebrate along the way. And I think these are definitely my 5 keys. It's talk with, make people feel a part of the solution, create participatory content, empower failure, and celebrate your wins. I'm excited to talk about these type of topics. I talk about these with all brands of all sizes throughout all different events. I have a full calendar coming for you in 2018. I spoke at over 100 events in the last 2 years. I'm extremely excited about an event coming up in November of 2018 called MedUtopia, and it's going to be in Lexington, Kentucky. And this is going to be a great event, not only because I get to work with one of my longtime social friends, Rob Rogers, but I also get to teach, and this event is part of the Kentucky Castle. So check out KentuckyCastle.com. That's where this event will be happening in November of 2018. I'll be speaking at lots of events, lots of things coming for you in the near future. Check out isocialfans.com/speaker, as I'll be putting my new calendar for 2018 up there. Hopefully you guys learned from these 5 lessons, and I hope you'll join me at future events in 2018, including MedUtopia November. Cheers.